What if I told you that the lawnmower sitting in your neighbor's garage, the one in your shed, and the one that guy down the street just paid $800 for are all secretly the same machine? Not similar, not inspired by each other, the same machine, wearing a different costume, carrying a different price tag, and sold under a different name at a different store. You've been choosing between brands that were never actually competing with each other. One corporation, one single, quietly powerful company, owns 9 of the most recognized lawnmower brands on the market, and they all roll off the same platform, share the same bones, and bleed the same engineering DNA. Most people have no idea this is happening, and the ones who do, they use it to shop smarter, spend less, and never get played by a marketing label again. So, before you walk into another hardware store, before you drop another dollar on a machine you think is unique, stay with me, because what you're about to find out is going to completely change the way you look at every single mower on that showroom floor. You are standing in the lawn and garden aisle of your local Home Depot on a Saturday morning, coffee still in your hand, list in your pocket, and right in front of you, 3 lawn mowers lined up side by side like they are genuinely competing for your hard-earned dollar. One has a red hood and says Troy Bilt. The one right next to it is yellow and says Cub Cadet. A few feet down sits a plain-looking machine with a modest little logo that says Yard Machines. The price tags are all different. The colors are all different. The logos are all different. And everything about the way they are displayed is designed to make you believe you are choosing between 3 separate companies with 3 separate engineering teams, 3 separate factories, and 3 separate standards of quality. You are not. What nobody in that store is going to tell you, what no salesperson, no floor associate, and certainly no corporate marketing department wants you figuring out, is that those 3 mowers came off the same assembly line, welded to the same frame, built on the same deck, running on the same foundational platform, rolling out of one factory system in Valley City, Ohio. The only real difference between that $649 Yard Machines and that $1,149 Troy Bilt is the color of the paint and the badge on the hood. And it does not stop at 3 brands. It goes 9 deep. 1 corporation, 9 brand names, 1 shared platform, and the most quietly executed takeover of an entire product category in American consumer history, happening right under your nose every single time you walked into a hardware store, a dealer showroom, or scrolled past a lawn equipment ad online. Millions of Americans have bought these machines. Millions have paid different prices for different names, and almost none of them ever knew they were buying from the same company. That company is MTD Products. Not Stanley Black & Decker. They only came into the picture in 2021 when they bought MTD outright. The empire itself, the 9 brands, the shared platform, the decades of market dominance, that was MTD Products building something the industry never wanted consumers to understand. And today, every single layer of it comes off. Most people have never heard the name MTD Products, and that is exactly the way MTD wanted it. Because when you are quietly running one of the most powerful empires in American outdoor power equipment history, the last thing you need is for the average consumer to start connecting the dots. It started in 1932, Cleveland, Ohio. The tail end of the Great Depression, 3 men, Theo Moll, Emil Jochem, and Erwin Gerhard, opened a small metal shop with a modest idea and even more modest resources. They called it Modern Tool and Die. That is where the name MTD came from. No lawn mowers, no riding equipment, just metal stampings and tooling components, mostly feeding the American auto industry. 3 guys trying to survive in a manufacturing city that was barely holding itself together. But these 3 men were doing something most people around them were not. They were watching where American families were going, and by the early 1950s, what they saw was impossible to ignore. The suburbs were exploding. Families were leaving the cities by the millions, buying homes, planting grass, and suddenly every single one of those homeowners had a lawn that needed cutting every week from April through October. The push mower market was already moving fast. The riding mower market was just waking up. MTD saw the window, pivoted hard into lawn and garden equipment, and never once looked back. Here is where things get interesting. MTD did not build their power by becoming a brand consumers loved. They built it by becoming the company other brands quietly came to when they needed machines built. Retailers, hardware chains, regional names, they all needed outdoor power equipment with their logo on it. MTD had the factory floor, the tooling, and the production capacity to deliver at scale. They became the invisible engine behind names that millions of Americans trusted without ever knowing MTD existed. Then came the acquisitions. Instead of building new brands from scratch and earning consumer loyalty the hard way, MTD started buying brands that already had it. Names with decades of recognition baked in. Shelf space already secured at the biggest retailers in the country. They assembled a portfolio that covered nearly every price point on the lawnmower spectrum, from the budget buyer all the way up to the homeowner absolutely convinced they were getting something premium. By the 1990s, MTD products had quietly transformed from a small Ohio tool shop into one of the largest outdoor power equipment manufacturers. Headquarters still in Valley City, Ohio, not exactly a name that makes financial headlines, but their reach had gone global. Manufacturing spread across North America, Europe, and Asia. Their products sat on shelves at Home Depot, Lowe's, Sears, Walmart, and farm supply stores from Maine to California. 9 brands, 1 corporation, and a business model built entirely on the certainty that most consumers will never look past the badge on the hood. So, let me give you those names right now, because I promise you, when you hear them one by one, something is going to click in your head that has never clicked before. These are not obscure brands nobody has heard of. These are names you have seen in stores your entire life, names you trusted, names you paid real money for, names your father swore by and your grandfather probably owned, and every single one of them belongs to MTD products. The first brand is Cub Cadet. If you know anything about lawn equipment, you know this name. Cub Cadet has been around since 1961, originally built by International Harvester, and those early machines were genuinely well engineered. They earned their reputation the hard way. But by 1981, MTD had acquired the brand and turned it into their premium label, the name they put on their highest price points, the product they used to go head-to-head with John Deere at the top of the market. And it works, because most consumers still believe they are buying something fundamentally different when they choose Cub Cadet. They are buying MTD with a yellow hood. The second brand is Troy Bilt. This one goes back to 1937, built out of Troy, New York as a garden tiller company with a real personality and a real connection to the people who used it. Garden enthusiasts trusted the Troy Bilt name deeply for decades. MTD acquired Troy Bilt in 2001 and made it their flagship mid-range brand. Walk into any Home Depot today and Troy Bilt is front and center, priced to feel like a meaningful upgrade, built on the same bones as machines that cost hundreds of dollars less under a different name on the very same shelf. The third brand is Craftsman, and this one deserves a moment because the history here is layered in a way that genuinely stops people cold. Craftsman started as a Sears brand, one of the most iconic names in American retail history. For generations, buying a Craftsman mower at Sears felt like buying American. It felt like quality. What consumers never knew was that Sears did not build those machines. MTD did. For years, MTD was the manufacturer behind every Craftsman outdoor power equipment product, building them in their own factories and shipping them out under the Craftsman badge. When Sears sold the Craftsman brand to Stanley Black & Decker in 2017, the manufacturing relationship with MTD continued without missing a beat. The badge changed corporate hands. The The factory floor stayed exactly the same. The fifth brand is Boland's. If you grew up in rural America or spent time around farm supply stores, you know Boland's. It had a genuine reputation as a hard-working, no-nonsense brand that served homeowners and small landowners for decades. MTD acquired it, repositioned it as a budget-tier label, and used the name to capture price-sensitive buyers who still wanted something recognizable on the hood. Long-time Boland's customers were not exactly thrilled when the brand changed character, but the name still moved product. And for MTD, that was the entire calculation. The sixth brand is Yard Machines. No storied history here, no legacy following. This is MTD's entry-level utility brand, the mower at the bottom of the price range in big-box stores designed for the buyer who just needs grass cut. But here is what makes Yard Machines the most revealing brand in this entire lineup. That $649 machine sitting on the floor shares the same foundational platform as Mowers MTD sells for over $1,000 under a completely different name across the aisle. Not a rumor. The business model in its most naked form. The seventh brand is White Outdoor, solid roots in American lawn and garden equipment, a reputation built on durability and straightforward performance. MTD absorbed White Outdoor and kept the name alive as a mid-tier option, giving them coverage across another retail channel and another consumer segment without developing a single new piece of engineering. Different badge, same platform underneath. That is the MTD formula working exactly as designed. The eighth brand is Columbia. This is MTD's primary brand for the Canadian market, built since 1972. It serves the same function north of the border that Yard Machines and Boland's serve in the United States, an accessible name at an approachable price point. A Canadian consumer buying a Columbia mower is getting the exact same machine their American neighbor buys under a completely different name. Geography changed. The engineering did not move an inch. The ninth brand is MTD Gold, the only one in the portfolio that actually carries the MTD name, positioned as a step up from the base MTD label to give consumers the impression of upgraded quality within the same family. Mid-range price point, better finish level, features meant to justify the higher tag, still the same core platform architecture running underneath every single one of them. 9 brands, 9 logos, 9 color schemes, 9 shelf positions across 9 different stores. And underneath all of it, 1 platform, 1 company, and 1 business strategy running quietly and profitably for decades. While American consumers kept right on believing they were making real choices between real competitors. But knowing the names is only half the story. The half that actually hits you in the wallet, the half the industry absolutely does not want you to understand, is what it really means when we say these 9 brands are built on the same platform. Because that phrase gets thrown around a lot, and most people nod along without fully grasping what it means in real-world terms. So let me break it down the way it deserves to be broken down. When manufacturers talk about a platform, they are talking about the foundational architecture of a machine, the frame, the chassis, the structural skeleton that everything else gets bolted onto. Think of it like 2 houses that look completely different from the outside. Different paint, different trim, different front doors. But if both were built on the same foundation, with the same floor plan and the same load-bearing walls underneath, then no matter how different they look on the surface, they are fundamentally the same house. That is exactly what is happening with these 9 brands. MTD Products runs 2 primary platform tiers across its entire portfolio. The first is their entry-level chassis, a lighter steel frame coming in under 400 pounds fully assembled, built with thinner gauge steel throughout the deck and fender structure, and a significant number of plastic components in the body. Engineered for high volume, engineered for low cost, this is the platform under your Yard Machines, your Boland's, your base-level Troy Bilt, your Remington, your White Outdoor, your Columbia. When you're standing in that store aisle staring at mowers ranging from $649 to $899, you are looking at variations of this same entry-level MTD chassis, dressed up in different hoods, different color panels, and a different name on the front. The second platform is MTD's premium chassis, and this is where Cub Cadet lives, a full-length robotically welded frame built from 12-gauge steel. Wider, heavier, coming in between 500 and 550 pounds, with a stronger deck and more substantial build quality throughout. And that difference is real. Nobody here is pretending it is not. But here is the part that matters. Mid-tier Troy Bilt and Yardman models have been built on this same premium chassis and sold at prices significantly below what a Cub Cadet with the identical foundation would cost you. Because the Cub Cadet badge alone commands a premium that the mechanical reality underneath does not always justify. Now, here is where the platform story goes somewhere most people never expect. The shared architecture does not stop at the frame. Across most of these brands, you are looking at interchangeable parts. The transmissions are shared, the cutting decks are shared, the blade systems are compatible, the control linkages are the same. Technicians who work on this equipment for a living have been pointing this out for years, that parts from a yard machines will fit a Troy Bilt, that components from a Boland's interchange directly with a base-level Cub Cadet, that when you order a replacement belt or a spindle assembly for one brand and hold it next to the same part ordered for a different brand, you are holding the exact same component, just shipped in a different box with a different part number printed on it. And now the part that makes everything real, the actual dollar amounts. Because once you see these numbers sitting next to each other, there is no going back. Start at the bottom of the shelf. A standard Yard Machines riding mower, 42-inch cutting deck, basic transmission, no frills, runs you somewhere between $1,000 and $1,200. Honest price. No emotional story attached to the name. Right next to it sits a Boland's in that same $1,000 to $1,300 range. Different color, different logo. A consumer standing between those two would never guess they are looking at the same company's product twice. Move up and you hit Remington and White Outdoor, typically $1,100 to $1,500. The mechanical difference between an $1,100 Yard Machines and a $1,400 Remington is not $300 worth of engineering. It is $300 worth of a name with history behind it. That is the entire gap. Then comes Troy Bilt, $1,300 on the low end, $2,200 and beyond on the higher configurations. On entry-level Troy Bilt models, the difference between a $1,200 Yard Machines and a $1,700 Troy Bilt is not $500 worth of machine. It is $500 worth of shelf presence, decades of advertising, and the feeling that you bought something meaningfully better. Craftsman runs $1,300 to $2,000 for riding configurations. Generations of American homeowners grew up believing that name meant something different. MTD built those machines, priced them, and collected the premium that the Craftsman name generated, while the machine itself came off the same production line as everything else in this portfolio. Now at the top sits Cub Cadet. Entry configurations start around $1,800 and climb well past $3,000 for premium models. On the heavy chassis models, that price has genuine justification. Stronger components, better longevity, real build quality differences. Nobody is disputing that, but a base-level Cub Cadet on MTD's entry chassis starts at $1,800. That Yard Machines costs you $1,000, $800 of difference. $800 for a yellow hood and the feeling of buying premium. That is not a small number. That is a real hit to a real household budget built entirely on the power of a name. And that brings us to the end of this video. What started as a simple lawnmower comparison turned into something much bigger, a look behind the curtain at how this industry really works once the marketing gets stripped away. If this video changed the way you look at mower brands, pricing, or dealership marketing, hit that like button because it helps more buyers see this information before they spend money they did not need to spend. Subscribe and turn on notifications because there are a lot more industry secrets, hidden platform relationships, and real-world equipment breakdowns coming next. And now I want to hear from you. Which mower brand shocked you the most once you realized who actually builds it? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. Until next time, buy smarter, research deeper, and never assume the badge on the hood tells the whole story.